Welcome to Strip Cover Lit, where we squeeze the bigger picture out of literature. I'm Adrian Ford, and we are here for the 10th and final chapter to Neil Gaiman's Stardust, though he does treat us to an epilogue. I have new videos on this channel Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Mondays are for poetry. I also have new videos on my personal channel Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, a link to which can be found in the description below. Here we have the 10th of a 13-part series journeying through Stardust by Neil Gaiman. So what happened in this, the final chapter to Stardust? Tristan and Yvain show up at the wall, the wall to, well, wall, and the guards on duty, guards that Tristan knew, turn them away. Guards that in his former life Tristan knew, deny him. They trot off as Tristan sleeps. A woman approaches, and we get this on page 217. Is that right? 217. Yeah. A woman approaches her and says to her, "I told you I was the bird in the caravan." Said the woman, "I know who you are, and I know why the witch woman never knew that you were there. I know who seeks you and why she needs you. Also, I know the provenance of the topaz stone you wear upon the silver chain about your waist. Knowing this, and what manner of thing you are, I know the obligation you must be under." She leaned down, and with delicate fingers she tenderly pushed the hair from Tristan's face. The sleeping youth neither stirred nor responded. Later, though, Tristan does awake. He awakes to news that a young lady is waiting for him in the town of Wall. Remember, they're camping out outside of Wall. And as he is racing towards the town, Victoria called Tristan in delight, thinking it's Victoria Foster, right? Victoria Foster, obviously, the young woman who was waiting for him. But then the young lady turned, and he saw that it was not Victoria Forrester. Why do I say have I said Foster this whole time? Surely not. Forrester, who he remembered suddenly and with delight in the knowing had gray eyes. That was what they were, gray. How could he have ever allowed himself to forget? But who this young lady could have been in her fine bonnet and shawl, Tristan could not say, although her eyes flooded with tears at the sight of him. "Tristan," she said, "it is you." They said it was. "Oh, Tristan, how could you? How could you?" He realized who the young lady reproaching him must be. "Louisa," he said to his sister, and then, "You have certainly grown while I was away, from a chit of a girl into a fine young lady." It's awkward. She takes him to see Victoria Forrester. And while he is seeing Victoria Forrester, she explains something dastardly to the young man. "And I did not play you fair, my poor shop boy." This is on 224. "I did not play you fair, my poor shop boy, but you are no longer a shop boy, are you? Since I thought that your quest was just foolishness in every way." She paused, and her hands gripped the wooden arms of the chair, grasping them so tight, her knuckles first reddened, then went white. "Ask me why I would not kiss you that night, Tristan Thorn." "It was your right not to kiss me," said Tristan. "I did not come here to make you sad, Vicky. I did not find you your star to make you miserable." Her head tipped to one side. "So you did find the star we saw that night?" "Oh, yes," said Tristan. "The star is back in the meadow, though, right now. But I did what you asked me to do." "Then there is something else for me now. Ask me why I would not kiss you that night. I had kissed you before when we were younger, after all." "Very well, Vicky. Why would you not kiss me that night?" "Because," she said, and there was relief in her voice as she said it, enormous relief, as if it were escaping from her. "The day before we saw the shooting star, Robert had asked me to marry him. That evening, when I saw you, I had gone to the shop hoping to see him, and to talk to him, and to tell him that I accepted, and that he should ask my father for my hand. Women. Women. And then on the kissing page of that, 225. And you love Mr. Monday? Said Tristram, seizing on the only thing in all this he was certain he had understood. She nodded, and she raised her head, so her pretty chin pointed toward Tristram. But I gave you my word, Tristram, and I will keep my word. And I have told Robert this. I am responsible for all that you have gone through, even for your poor burned hand. And if you want me, then I am yours. On 226, he said, you said you would give me whatever I desire. Yes. Then, he paused, then I desire that you should marry Mr. Monday. I desire that you should be married as soon as possible. Why, within this week if such a thing can be arranged. And I desire that you should be as happy together as ever a man and a woman have ever been. Simp. Then on 228 through 229, Madame Simile adjusted the last of the crystal flowers on the stall and eyed the market with disfavor. This is the market that comes to Wall, and Madame Simile, the witch. Madame Simile adjusted the last of the crystal flowers on the stall and eyed the market with disfavor. It was a little past noon, and the customers had just started to wander through. None of them had yet stopped at her stall. Fewer and fewer of them. Every 9 years, she said. Mark my words, soon enough this market will be just a memory. There's other markets and other marketplaces, I am thinking. This market's time is almost over. Almost 40, 50, 60 years at the most, and it will be done for good. Perhaps, said her violet-eyed servant. But it does not matter to me. This is the last of these markets I shall ever attend. Madame Simile glared at her. I thought I had long since beaten all of your insolence out of you. It is not insolence, said her slave. Look. She held up the silver chain which bound her. It glinted in the sunlight, but still it was thinner, more translucent than ever it had been before. In places it seemed as if it were made not of silver, but of smoke. What have you done? Spittle flecked at the old woman's lips. I have done nothing. Nothing that I did not do 18 years ago. I was bound to you to be your slave until the day the moon lost her daughter. If it occurred in a week when 2 Mondays came together, and my time with you is almost done. Then we flash forward to 232. Tristram's talking, and he says, I suppose I should have taken you with me into the village. He's talking to the star. To Yvain. No, said the star. You shouldn't have. I live as long as I am in Fairy. Were I to travel to your world, I would be nothing but a cold iron stone fallen from the heavens, pitted and pocked. But I almost took you with me, said Tristram aghast. I tried to last night. Yes, she said, which only goes to prove that you are indeed a ninny, a lackwit, a clodpole. Dunderhead, offered Tristram. You always used to like calling me a dunderhead, and an oaf. Well, she said, you are all of those things, and more besides. Why did you keep me waiting like that? I thought something terrible had happened to you. I'm sorry, he told her. I won't leave you again. No, she said, seriously and with certainty, you will not. His hand found hers then. They walked hand in hand through the market. Okay. It's a little weird that you end up falling in love mutually with the person who had not only enslaved you, but enslaved you in order that you may serve the woman who he thought he did love. 234. Then Tristram says, everything I ever thought about myself, who I was, what I am, was a lie. Or sort of. You have no idea how astonishingly liberating that feels. This being the most romantic thing that apparently Yvain had ever heard. Yvain tells him the most romantic thing that he's ever heard, that being they can't have kids together. And then they kiss because, I mean, that's logically where this was going the whole time. Anytime you find a fallen star, you have to fall in love. Then Tristran's mother is freed. Freed, I tell you. And she shows up, somehow knowing or intuiting where they are. I think, and she's from Stormhold. So yeah, I guess we saw that coming. Sort of. Then that topaz thing that Yvain carries, it belongs to Tristran's mother, who happens to show up and says that it belongs to Tristran. Tristran is the Lord of Stormhold. He says, no, I don't wanna. She says, shut the fuck up. You're gonna do this, and if you don't like it, leave later, but I'm gonna rule the place if you don't, yada, yada, yada. So what happens? What are we talking about here? The first thing I want to say is this on page 212. The very beginning of this chapter, the chapter titled Stardust. It has occasionally been remarked upon that it is easy to overlook something large and obvious, as it is to overlook something small and niggling, and that the large things one overlooks can often cause problems. I'm going to read that again. But I want you to think of intent. I want you to think of Ernest Hemingway and how Ernest Hemingway wasted nary a word in his writing. How short and precise and calculated were Ernest Hemingway's words. Not to say that all writing has to be. Not at all. Lots of writing wanders. But I want you to tell me what is said in this paragraph. It has occasionally been remarked upon that it is easy to overlook something large and obvious, as it is to overlook something small and niggling, and that the large things one overlooks can often cause problems. Absolutely nothing is said there. That paragraph doesn't say anything at all. That is quite possibly, through my experience with Neil Gaiman, which is only this. That's all the experience I have with Neil Gaiman. Right there. That's it. But through all of that experience with Neil Gaiman, this might be the most Neil Gaiman paragraph I've ever read. This might be it. 214 and 2 into 215. So that's that. Did I already read that? No. Okay. So 214 into 215. Even if you are that good-for-nothing thorn. This is as Tristran and Yvain are approaching the wall and the guards are denying him. Even if you are that good-for-nothing thorn, he said, I see no reason to let either of you people through. We guard the wall, after all. Tristran blinked. I, too, have guarded the wall, he pointed out, and there are no rules about not letting people through from this direction, only from the village. Mr. Brown nodded slowly. Then he said, as one talks to an idiot, and if you are Tristran Thorn, which I'm only conceding for the sake of argument here, for you look nothing like him, and you talk little enough like him either. In all the years you lived here, how many people came through the wall from the meadow side? Why, none that I ever knew of, said Tristran. Mr. Brown smiled, the same smile he had used when he docked Tristran a morning's wages for 5 minutes lateness. Exactly, he said. There was no rule against it because it doesn't happen. No one comes through from the other side. Not while I'm on duty in a road. Now be off with you before I take my stick to your head. Tristran was dumbfounded. If you think I have gone through, well, everything I have gone through only to be turned away at the last part by a self-important penny-pinching grocer and by someone who used to crib from me in history, that's the young man that is guarding the wall with him, used to copy off of Tristran's history papers. He began, but Yvain touched his arm and said, "Tristran, let it go for now. You shall not fight with your own people." Tristran said nothing, but he turned without a word, and together they walked back up the slope to the meadow. Around them a hodgepodge of creatures and people erected from their stalls, hung their flags, and wheeled their barrows. And it came to Tristran then, in a wave of something that resembled homesickness, but homesickness compromised in equal parts of longing and despair, that these might as well be his own people, for he felt he had more in common with them than with the pallid folk of Wall, in their worsted jackets and their hobnailed boots. You can't go home. You can go anywhere, but you can't go home. This is sort of a commentary on the fact that when someone gets out of their home and they make something of themselves, they can't go back to being the person that they were. They never will be the person that they were. They are changed. This is a commentary on that, as this entire, where did we get here? 242 pages at the end of chapter 10 was. It is the hero's journey. It is saying, look, you can do a lot of stuff, but you can't go home. Once you reach out, branch out, become yourself, become the individual that you are destined, maybe not destined, but you have worked to be. Once you get to that point, you can't go back to being who you were. You can change, but you can't change back. That is what this entire book to this point has been a commentary on. I don't think anyone, from the point Tristran left Wall to begin with, I don't think anyone really imagined that he was going to get the star and come home and marry the girl. Why? Because he left home. Look at literature. Anytime someone leaves home, they don't return the same person that they are. It's like in, what was that movie with Drew Barrymore? The scary one. I'll be back. I'll be right back. What was the line? And then they get killed always. It's the horror film, you know. Anyway, Drew Barrymore was only in a little bit of it because she was staying at home and then she got killed. That's the point I think I was making. I don't remember what point I was making bringing that up. But anyway, that is what this book is about. And I think we're going to get into a little bit more of that in the review once we get there. But before that, we will have the epilogue. And I imagine there will be some commentary in the epilogue on what it is that Tristran takes to or does not take to in his new job as the Lord of Stormhold. That is all I have for this video. I hope to see you Friday for another video on this channel.